This is Red Podcast, episode number 243. In my hand, the Book of Mistakes, 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future is worth reading. I'm going to talk about it.
This is the Red Podcast. How to reach more people, establish your authority, and deliver your message. Here's your host, David Hooper.
I started my marketing career doing what they call street promotion, specifically street promotion for musicians, for bands. And the way that it works is you basically pass out music. Sometimes it's flyering. And flyering, if you've never seen a flyer, basically go to a Kinko's, FedEx office type place, some place with a copy machine. You make posters, and you put them literally everywhere. Poster the shit out of them. One time I was on campus at University of Memphis. I was promoting a show. Huge parking lot. Talking thousands and thousands of cars. And I had thousands and thousands of flyers. So I put a flyer on every single one. I destroyed a virgin forest that day. Got to the very last one. There's a cop waiting for me. Looks at the flyer. Doesn't like it. Checks my ID. He says, I'm going to return here in an hour. And if these flyers are not off these cars in that time, you're going to be arrested. He leaves. And I said, what the hell? Walked away. Never got in trouble. And I tell you this story because back in the day, the 1990s to be exact, that's how we would launch something. That's how we would let people know about new music, passing out cassettes or CDs. That's how we would get people to shows. That's how you would make a big impact. And I say this not to brag, but we launched a lot of bands this way. No Doubt, Bush. I worked with so many acts I can't remember all of them. Arrested Development, Run DMC. Worked with a lot of acts doing this kind of work. Eventually I moved on from street promotion to radio promotion to internet promotion. That's one of the reasons that I am where I am today, working with people like you. Because the music industry, it was the first industry to really be changed by the internet. For one, college kids at the time, again, the 90s, the only people who had access to it. The internet was a university thing, .edu, every single email address you would see. But also, file sharing. What was the first thing to get shared? Music. So when file sharing and e-commerce started to change, people from other industries contacted me. They said, David, you've done this in music. We'd like your help doing it with books. We'd like your help doing it with film, with television. That's how I branched out into those things. And how I started working with experts, this is where you come in. I got sick of making stupid people famous. Call it a midlife crisis. I wanted to work with people who are making impact, and that's how Red Podcast was born. This is the Red Podcast, the podcast for experts. If you're a blogger, podcaster, speaker, marketer, nonfiction author, somebody with a message to spread, this is the podcast for you. I help you to reach, expand, and develop your audience. And on this episode, I'm talking about street teams. They still exist. I'm going to talk about one specific book that just came out, launched via a street team. As I mentioned, street teams back in the day, a lot of work. Had to spend a lot of money at Kinko's, FedEx office, as it's called these days. Kill a lot of trees, piss off a lot of people. Sometimes they were cops. These days, it's a lot easier to spread your message, and you can do that thanks to apps like Ripple. If you're having trouble standing out on social media, you've got a great message, but you're not design savvy, Ripple is for you. It's designed for small business owners, people just like you, bloggers, podcasters, people with a message to spread. It helps you attract new business and engage with existing customers. Here's the best part. You don't need to be a great designer to design professional ads with Ripple. It's got over 200 design templates. You take your message, plug it into one of these templates, bam, you're good to go. Automatically share that message with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more. No need for FedEx office. You don't need to print flyers. And perhaps the best part, it's totally legal. Ripple works. And right now you can try it for 7 days, free of charge, just for being a Red Podcast listener. To do this, go to ripple.com/red, 7 days free of charge. How many messages could you make within the next 7 days. Try it out. Ripple.com/red, RIPL.com/red. You know who could use a Ripple? Skip Prichard. He's got a new book out. It's called The Book of Mistakes, 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future. Got it right here in my hand. As I mentioned, I got into book marketing because what was happening with music, file sharing, people online talking about music. Once the internet expanded beyond college kids, once technology changed with things like Kindle, we had a new audience on the internet, new ways to distribute books online. My music marketing experience came in handy because you're basically doing the same thing. You're finding people who might like a product. You're talking to them about it. They just happen to read it rather than listening to it. And book marketing is definitely a subset of what I still do now. You may have heard my other podcasts. Obviously, you're listening to this one. You know I've got a big focus on podcasting right now, but books are still an important part of spreading your message. So I'm still very interested when a new book launches, especially given my street team background. This book, The Book of Mistakes, I was turned on to this book via a street team. It's not normally the type of book that I'd read. If you go to the publisher page, you'll see why. The publisher is called Center Street. Other books they published, Let Trump Be Trump, Understanding Trump. That was by Newt Gingrich. Trump's War, His Battle for America. Various Hillary Clinton exposés. The About Us page says this: Center Street publishes nonfiction books in such categories as conservative, political, and military. Not a match for me. However, I think it's important to hear different perspectives. And I think that people in general, they're more alike than different. And if we're talking mistakes, let's be honest, we all make them. I took a look at the one sheet. Here's what it says. The Book of Mistakes, 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future, is the project of Skip Prichard, a CEO who understands that the only motivation that works is self-motivation. Culled from research and interviews with news and sports legends, CEOs, and best-selling authors, The Book of Mistakes is the inspiring business fable of a young professional named David. Hey, my name's David. 2 years into the workforce, David has already become embittered with lost confidence, misdirection, and growing apathy over a list of all too familiar stresses. That is, until he's taken on a journey from struggling young professional to promising entrepreneur, public speaker, and change maker by 9 sage teachers, readying him with the mistakes that lead to failure. These 9 mistakes, see pull out for more info, commonly but rarely addressed are. Then he lists the 9 mistakes. So that got me. My name is also David. He was talking to me, and surprisingly, I did spend about 2 years working for other people while I was getting my own thing off the ground. The 9 secrets that he lists, they're not really secrets. If you read other self-help, motivational type books, you've probably heard them. Or if you work for yourself, you've probably lived them. Let me give you an example of one. The law of desire. The law of desire is the first law. Desire is a spring overfilling to fill your life with goodness. All opportunities, all achievement, all power is activated first with a burning desire. Desire the noble. Think high thoughts. Feast on the abundance of possibility. Guard against wasting your desire on the insignificant and small. Only when your desire is great enough does it activate the winds of achievement to propel you to the impossible. Do not proceed without picturing your desires achieved fully. Your desire sets the course of your destiny. Does that sound familiar? To me, it sounds like the first part of Think and Grow Rich. It's very similar to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. The Secret, perhaps you saw that movie. Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. In fact, the entire book is that way. The 9 secrets, if I were to list them right now, you'd say, oh yeah, I know that. Or as I mentioned, if you're an entrepreneur, you've lived it. But what makes this book interesting is how the story is told. It's a fable. Skip works the lessons that he wants to teach, that he wants you to walk away with, within a story. And seeing how that is done makes this book worth looking at. If you're doing speaking engagements, you're not up there just rambling facts. If you've got a podcast, you're not up there just rambling facts. Maybe you're working on a nonfiction book. You're not just giving facts. Incorporating story makes those messages so much more powerful. If you think about The Go-Giver, if you've ever read that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, the Bible, What's the Bible? It's not just a list of stuff you can't do. It's a list of stuff you can't do surrounded by story. So if you're interested in storytelling, if you want the freedom of fiction, this book is a great example of how to do that. Even if you're a nonfiction author, this book walks that fine line. Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? I mean, it's a fiction book, but it's made for nonfiction readers. The format that Skip uses is a very simple format. 9 secrets, 13 mistakes, 10 commandments, 45 laws. We've all seen books like that. Secrets, mistakes, commandments, laws. 7 habits of highly effective people, 48 laws of power. Skip's got a different story for each one, so it's easy to write. You take your secrets, mistakes, commandments, laws, a different story for each one. So you're not writing one big book. It's more like you're writing a group of blog posts and then packaging them together like a book. If you want to learn all 9 of these mistakes, go to Amazon. You can search inside the book. It's called The Book of Mistakes, 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future. Skip Prichard is the author. I'm going to leave you with number 7. Secret number 7 is trying to blend in instead of standing out. I mentioned I'd done a little corporate work when I was trying to get my own thing going. I had a successful marketing business doing music marketing. It's making me a good living. But I needed more money because I was getting into the record label business. And the record label business involves getting bands into the studios, bands on the road. At the time, we were pressing a lot of CDs, trying to get distribution. You were working with distributors. You weren't getting paid immediately. I was basically bleeding money. So I went out and got some extra work. I was working so hard during that time. I had a failed relationship. I've been together with this woman about 5.5 years. She was like, no more. She didn't get what I wanted to do. She didn't understand entrepreneurship. She didn't understand my desire to do something more than just work a job or work for other people or work hand to mouth or even work at something that I actually enjoyed. Her thought was that you found a job that was tolerable, you worked that 5 days a week, and you did something that you enjoyed 2 days a week. I didn't agree with that. We were a mismatch. But even so, it was hard to let that go for me. I was working jobs that I didn't like, no direction personally. And there was a guy in the office where I was doing this work. And I would watch him every day. And I was so miserable, and he seemed so happy. And he would show up, and he had his brown bag lunch, and he would do his work, and he would eat his brown bag lunch, and he would go home. And he seemed happy to me. I thought, oh my God, I wish I could be that guy. Why can't I be like him? And I literally prayed. I said, oh, please, let me be like this guy. He seems to be surviving a whole lot better than I was. But I didn't get it. I thought there was something wrong with me. And I talked to a friend of mine about it. This guy with the brown bag lunch, his name was Scott. And I told my friend, I said, why can't I be like Scott? Scott just shows up. He's got a brown bag lunch. He goes to his desk. He does his work. He eats his lunch. He goes home. Why can't I be like him? And she said, thank God you're not like him. He's boring. He's got no ambition. He's not going to make any impact. You are at least trying to do something purposeful. You got 2 options when you're in a situation like that. One, you can change yourself, which I found to be impossible. I was trying to change myself by simply taking that job. I should have found another way to make money to fund this label. Work the label harder. I don't know. Do anything. Taking more music jobs even though they didn't pay me as much as this one. Or the second option, you can change the table that you're sitting at. So I completely agree with secret number 7, trying to blend in instead of standing out. Focus on standing out. You've heard me say this a lot on this podcast. You plant your flag, let other people come to you. They are dying for you to plant your flag because they're too scared to. Scott, brown bag lunch, showing up every day, doing his work, eating his lunch, going home. He's not going to do it. He's already worn down. You've just a little spark of that energy. You're not worn down yet. Plant the flag. Don't blend in. Stand out. If you want more on that concept, it's in the Book of Mistakes, 9 Secrets to Creating a Successful Future. There are 8 others just like it. Skip Prichard is the author. It is available at Amazon. It will be linked at redpodcast.com/243. If you've got questions, you've got comments, you want to reach out and say, hey, Do it via social media. At David Hooper is my name on Twitter. If you haven't already subscribed to Red Podcast, do it. Go to redpodcast.com. Top left corner. I've got options for you. If you listen to podcasts on an iPhone, got an option for you. On an Android, got an option for you. You want an app? Got apps. If you listen via the web, I got a link that'll let you do just that. One click is all it takes to make sure that you never miss an episode of Red Podcast. So go to redpodcast.com, look in the top left corner, click on the link of your choosing, and never miss an episode. Thank you for listening to Red Podcast. I'll see you on the next one.
You've been listening to Red Podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.